Hey y'all, thanks for joining me and Anna today. We are super excited to have today's guest with us. I've known this gentleman since I was 12 years old, and in later years he was part of my village, providing me with business advice and horse advice. And Anna has also known him for over 20 years, as she's had very deep relationships with both of his daughters. A successful steward of a multi-generational, 100-year-old family business, an independent grocer, a real estate developer, a horse breeder, a philanthropist, most importantly, a husband to Debbie for 52 years, a super proud dad of 3, and a beaming grandfather of 2, with probably more to come. It is our pleasure to welcome Mr. Roy Zuppardo.
All right, thanks. Enjoy being here too. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So as I said, we've got a long-standing relationship, as does Anna and you, and for me, with your entire family, your brother, your parents, all your nieces and nephews. I feel like I got the whole Zuppardo family.
And there's a lot of us too.
There are a lot of you. And as Anna and I were kind of talking about today, one of the things that, struck us as we were sharing kind of our first interactions with you and your family is, family has always been just part of who you guys are. And not only in the business side, but also in the annual social events that you guys throw and all the in between there. And to be honest, it really made an impression on me as a younger guy, as I got to know you and your family and then your brother's family. And I've tried to emulate that because it's really cool.
When we first, my grandfather came to America in the early 1900s and started working for a banana company. He worked his way through the ranks of the company and got to be a manager, and then got his own distribution route and then his own business. But any dollar we had, he spent on real estate in the area, buying houses for his family first, for his children, for everybody else. Wound up, we all lived in a 2-block area in Gentilly, right around St. Leo's Church, and we lived, all of us, in one little neighborhood.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, times have changed, huh?
And yes, very much so. And we had everything we needed right there. We didn't have to go out anywhere. We used to have bananas because we always had ripe bananas to eat. So tired of eating bananas my whole life.
And why was that?
My grandfather was a banana importer.
Okay.
So all of the bad bananas we couldn't sell, we wound up trying to make banana stew with or whatever. I don't know. My grandma used to figure out all kind of ways.
Banana gumbo. It's okay. Banana gumbo, or throw some okra in there. Yes.
All right. So we always ate banana. I had plenty around. He used to chase us with bananas. Eat a banana. Whenever you're hungry, eat a banana. Sorry. Our family lived together. We all worked together. We all played together because we were in this confined area, almost this 2-block area. But we were blessed. We had a mule to pull a wagon that carried the bananas, and Maggie was with us into my late teens.
And Maggie's at the store.
Maggie's at the store. That's right. Maggie still represented the store. She was the first executive assistant in the Zuppardo family because, as my Uncle Tony would go down the route to sell bananas door to door, Maggie knew the route. She'd move ahead. He didn't have to guide her. She just knew where to stop. Wood corners had people waiting for him. So Maggie knew what to do. She was a great tool.
So this was your uncle at this point?
That was my uncle, yeah.
Your uncle.
He was a young man at the time. He was
Uncle Tony?
Yes, my Uncle Tony. He was about 12 years old, peddling bananas in the neighborhood. We wound up with a fruit stand on the corner of Gentilly and Elysian Fields. And from that fruit stand, we had our supermarket. And then we built our second supermarket in Metairie.
Got it. So was the fruit stand was where Zuppardo's was in Gentilly, that little corner?
On the corner of Gentilly and Elysian Fields. That's where we squatter rights, I guess. And then we wound up buying the corner.
Nice.
I want to spend a little bit of time with you talking about your youth because, I think you'd agree with that. That's really the formative years for all of us, right? And I've already mentioned living in a little small family community that I had a larger community around it and how important that was. But, Talk to us a little bit about, so here you are, you're a young child, I guess, starting to go to the grocery store. And what's a couple of the things that you would want to share that you feel really started to shape who you are now as a ripe young age of 74 as you look back? What were some of those experiences?
So when I was 5 years old, I would love to go to the store and see what was going on. It was exciting. You're a little kid. It was like, man, this is great. Big store. My daddy owns the store. I can actually take a piece of gum off the stand and eat a piece of bubble gum.
Now you sound like my son.
Big.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. So I used to have to bag onions and potatoes because I used to have to count 6, move on, 6, move on, then potatoes. Then I got a promotion to where I could work in the front of the store, and that's where the big money was. That's where you got the tips.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Why do you think your parents wanted you at the store at such a young age? Was there a specific reason when you look back, or was it just happened?
Well, let's think about it. I know why my wife wanted me to take my kids to the store.
Well, that's an interesting part of the next chapter, right?
So I have to assume it was pretty similar for my mom. We had 4 boys and a girl. If he could take 2 kids and occupy them all day, she only had to worry about the other 3.
Oh, that makes sense.
So that's part of it. And I know that was my wife's intention. The kids ought to go to work. There is a lot of good reasons for us to go. A lot to learn. You learn a whole lot working that way, and the disciplines of working.
And you made a lot of money when you were young, working at the store,
let's
right?
put it like this. We used to get tips when tips were not much at all. A penny, 2 pennies, a quarter was my biggest tip ever. I loved it when I was little. But at the end of the day, I'd take all of the change that I had made. This is how simple things were back then. The guy that owned the savings and loan, state savings and loan, lived on the corner of my home, at the corner of my house, the same corner. Every evening, I'd go home, I'd bring him my change, he'd count it. He was the president of the bank. He'd count my pennies, my nickels, he'd give me a ticket, and he'd make a deposit for me. And I couldn't wait to get the book back to see how much interest I earned. Sometimes I'd earn like 20 cents interest. Wow, that was huge. So by the time I was in 8th grade, I had accumulated enough money. Could have put a down payment on a house in 8th grade.
Wow.
Of course, it was like $1,500, but it wouldn't have been a mansion. There would have been fun. But that's just to show you how things have changed over the years.
Yes,
Dollar-wise, I'm sorry.
for sure.
How old were you when you started working?
I started working when I was 16.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was 12.
Well, the good thing is, it's the same as the bad. I always was interested in going to the store and learning because it was something new. There was no cable TV. There was no organized football for us or soccer or anything. It was, you go outside and play with the boy next door, you go to work.
Yeah.
And we wound up going to work, all of us. I think my dad was fortunate enough to have 4 boys. He had 4 workers. I think that's what he says.
Yeah, and it's funny with what I've seen is different kids, some get there and they enjoy it and it's occupying that side of their brain and they're happy. And then other kids are there and it's totally miserable for them.
Oh yeah, I have a
and
brother
they fight it and the parents are pulling their hair out and eventually everyone finds their way. But what I've learned is that to me, it's almost like there's some kind of genetic makeup in each of us, in our DNA, and that desire to work fires at different times.
Yes.
And I've seen it with my family. I've seen it with other families, seen it with my own children. It's like, it's like it's in there and it comes
Right.
at different ages and times.
And it's got to be a characteristic of almost every family because you mentioned exactly one of my brothers who could not stand working in a grocery store.
Really?
So we viewed him as, he's the black sheep of the family. Well, he turned out to graduate from Palmer College of Chiropractic and wound up being a chiropractor his whole life, very successful.
Yeah.
Didn't like the grocery business, though.
Right.
And that's also very common in family businesses that I've seen. I haven't been part of one, but just watching and having friends and peers around the country, some of the kids connect with it and other kids just don't. And
Yep.
it's not really.
I mean, Jeff is an example of that. I mean, his dad had a pharmacy. He became a pharmacist. He now owns a pharmacy, but his two brothers didn't want anything to do with that at all.
So now here we sit, and we're going to jump over a big chapter if we don't go slow. So we left off there. You're in your early teens, working at the store. You end up going to college and getting a marketing degree.
I got a degree from UNO in marketing and advertising. Knew what I was going to do my whole life, which was kind of a blessing because I never had to worry about what was I going to do when I got out of school. All my friends were worried about what were they going to do once they got.
And I know that feeling. I know that feeling very well, where you sit there and you're like, now what?
Now what?
What direction am I going to take?
I am so blessed that I had that in me. Even though I'm not going to work in a grocery store my whole life, I did.
You did.
I loved it. And having that in my background, being able to rely on that, made my life a lot easier.
That's awesome.
So I kind of coasted through school. Did good enough to avoid the Vietnam War because my draft number was 12. So when they had the draft at that time, a lot of Anna might not even know. Did you know that they had a draft? They used to draft.
I knew they had a draft. I still didn't know how it works. So you were number 12. What does that mean?
Number 12. Well, so let me tell you, we were at a party at my Uncle Tony's house. He had a swimming pool. I was in college, and I forgot what it was, but we had some hours in between class. I said, let's go jump in the pool. So we did. A bunch of us went to the swimming pool. My uncle was out of town. I might be in trouble. He was out of town, but his housekeeper was there, and she was a doll. So we came in. We said, we're going to take over the pool today. This is my birth date. They're going to be on TV telling you what day it is, what your number is. Come out and tell us. These are the dates that we had. There like 3 of us, right? Wow. So she comes out. Ooh, Mr. Roy, you got a good number. I said, oh, thank you, Lord. I don't have to go to Vietnam. What's my number? She says, well, Joe got number 326. What? That's the best number? Yeah, but yours is better. You got number 12. I went, no, Geneva, that doesn't work that way. 12 is worst. It's one of the first numbers to go. So sure enough, after graduation, I was drafted. And sure enough, lucked out that I had a congenital defect in my back, which I've carried my whole life. That's prevented me from doing some things, and the service was one of them. So I was pleased. I didn't have to go. I was blessed. All my friends, as soon as they got their draft notice, everybody went to the Coast Guard, the Navy. They all joined reserves. So that was what we did back then.
Right. Wow.
So, yeah, so to me, and having talked to you a little bit, learning more about you over the last few days than I ever knew, there's some other things that I look to your youth and say that it really seems to have shaped you into who you are today. And we'll talk a little later about some of the philanthropic work and charitable work that you've been involved in for 30-something years or more. But there's all kind of other things that have occurred, and to me and some of them started in your youth, where you saw your father exhibit, I would call it, a big heart and charity to some degree, right? Not in the terms of making a donation to a church or an association, but in the way he treated certain situations. And if you could share,
I'm at the grocery store one day. I was about 9 or 10 years old, and working in the front, I'm bagging groceries. And this dirty-looking guy comes in, and he's got a stick with a handkerchief on the end, just like the old TV shows, hobos jumping off of trains with their little stick carrying it around town. This was it. It was the same guy. He had a dirty face, hadn't shaved, dirty clothes, hole in his pants. And he walks in the store, and the manager at the time, whoever was in the front, called go get Mr. Joe. We don't want this guy in here. So sure enough, my dad comes to the front, tells the guy, hey, come with me. So he follows him outside the store, and I followed him outside the store. and he put him on the side of the store, says, sit right here. He looks at me, he says, go get a loaf of French bread, go get some bologna, go get 2 cans of tuna, 2 cans of Vienna sausage, and a loaf of Marita bread. Bring it here. And I got him a Coca-Cola, I think it was, or whatever the soft drink was at the time. Might have been a Pepsi. So I'll bring him his stuff. He was so excited. He looked in the bag, and he just, I could just see in his face how happy he was to get that.
Right.
And it just, wow, that was amazing. This guy was thrilled. It was like I got my first baseball glove or something in it. So when I got back inside, I said, Dad, who paid for that stuff? And why did you give that guy all that stuff? What's he going to do with all of that? You're trying to figure this out. And he goes, if it, a little bit of luck, it could be us. He said, this will go a long way for him.
Right.
He'll have enough to eat for 3 or 4 days. Hopefully he'll find a job somewhere. At that time, there was a train station not too far from the store. And evidently he got off the train at that point. And that's what he was. He was just a traveling hobo.
Wow.
I go, you don't see those. We don't call them that today. We call them homeless today, I guess. But back then he was the hobo that I'd seen on TV. That stuck with me. And I said, wow, that was a great joy to see that man. That
made you feel good.
Made me feel good.
Right.
And sure enough, a few years later, I wound up working for a company that gave away 20 million meals a day.
Amazing.
So, pretty good story. I started working for Second Harvest Food Bank after I'd seen a TV commercial that featured all my competitors except me. Canal Villery, A&P, Schwegmann's.
That's going way there.
And went low. And then we had Dorgnac's. Oh man, how did he get on there and not me? So I go to, So I go to Second Harvest and say, hey, why did you pick this guy and not me? What's the deal? So they said, well, you want to join? You can join. I said, certainly do. He says, all right, go get me some money. And you can be, in this little subcommittee. We're trying to raise money for the food bank.
Right.
Well, I had connections in the business. We had a well-established business. And so I went to some of my vendors, and I was successful in convincing them to make donations for the food bank. Well, I got to be pretty popular at the food bank since I was the only one raising money. Not the only one, but one of the ones raising money. So they put me on a board as a permanent, as a board member.
And that's not typical, right?
Yeah. In the scheme of things, the way I do it now, because a lot changed from when I was there. When we first started with the food bank, it was, give me a dented can of food, and I'll bring it to Mrs. Jones when she came in and asked for something. But today we're a distribution company. And I'd like to think I had a little part in making it successful that way, but and a small part, I will say, because we had some great, great people involved the whole time. But anyway, so we get to the food bank, and now we're giving away 20 million meals a year. And it's better now than it was back then. I've been retired from the food bank for about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I wasn't sure if you still did it or not.
I am a board member emeritus, and I do go to the meetings, especially now there's a lot of issues going on. So I feel it necessary to return and
Good.
state my opinion.
You have children who are in their 30s and 40s, and now you have some grandbabies.
Well,
30s and 40s.
My oldest daughter would appreciate that comment.
They're 40s and 50s.
40s and 50s. Yeah, 30s are gone.
Okay.
30s are gone for all of them.
So,
I got married at a young age, okay? So
can we back up and talk about that? Because that's a great story. So the story with Miss Deb, I didn't know that you were getting paid to take her out on dates.
Oh, yeah. Well, I come from an Italian family, and when you immigrated from a country, those people kind of stayed in their own little clique, which was not uncommon for us as well. That's why you see a lot of Italians marrying Italians. I'm sure it happens in each culture the same way. But when I was at UNO and dating, my mother never liked anybody. I think that's pretty standard for most mothers, never like anybody their son. So they were intent on getting a wife for me. My mother and my father were put together almost in those days. That's how they used to do it. Oh, you got to go out with her. You got to go. So they were kind of...
They met here.
They met here in
Okay.
America. Yeah, and they both were Americans. My dad was born here.
Okay.
I think he was the only one of my family that was born here. Might not be 100% right. Maybe my aunt. But anyway, so he was born here. My mom was born here.
Okay.
But they were first generation. And I mean, they spoke Italian before they spoke English. As we all did as kids. I didn't know I knew Italian until I got to school. So it was just natural. That's what we did. I forgot where I was going.
Misstep and getting paid.
Yeah.
So they were trying to set you up.
They were trying to set me up. Thank you. They were setting me up. And so the two moms, my mother-in-law to be, and my current mom, and my mom, rather, both started conniving. You got a single son. I got a single daughter. She's almost 21. We got to get her married. What is your son doing? Let's get them together. So sure enough, they connived. They both belonged to some luncheon group together. I believe they were both members of the Elenians Club at the time. There was an annual Mardi Gras ball at the Elenians Club held every year at the auditorium, and they made me participate. And they made her participate on her side. She was a maid, I was a duke, and, the two moms got together and said, we're going to pair these two up. So before I knew who Debbie was, and I'm looking at all of the prospects, because I know one of them is supposed to be my date, right? I found this cute little girl that I really liked, and it wasn't Debbie. I was so disappointed. So I met Debbie. She was cute, but I liked the other girl. So sure enough, I asked the other girl out. We started dating. Well, the moms were upset. Sure
all
enough,
that work.
Yeah, right. All that work. So they still persisted after the ball was over. Mm-hmm. They still persisted in getting us together, and they succeeded. My dad told me, you better do what your mama tells you. Okay. So I had to call Debbie up for a date. First time I give her a call. Hi, I'm Roy. How you doing? Haven't seen you since the ball. What are you doing Saturday night? This is like on a Monday. But in the old days, you used to have to call way ahead because my mother used to, don't wait till Thursday night. You call her right now. It's Monday, Mom. Sure enough, I had to call her, and she was busy, and she told me no. I was the happiest person. I said, you know what? I don't have to go out with this girl anymore. I already had a girlfriend. I was going to have to explain to her why I was going out with somebody else.
Complicated.
Yes. So I thought I was free. Well, a week later, I called Debbie up. Oh, man, I got to do this again? Called Debbie up again. Sure enough, she refused me again. Now I know I'm free. Then my dad steps in and my mom, and they both tell me, hey, call her up. Come to find out, my future mother-in-law's on the other end answering the phone, and I guess my poor wife was standing there over, and she said, yes, Rosemary, put Roy on the phone. So sure enough, I get on the phone. Deb, do you want to go out? Yes, I'll go out. Boom. That was the end of the conversation.
All of a sudden, she wasn't busy.
Everybody was going out at that time. So we did have our first date.
I mean, with this kind of pressure, you don't need dating apps.
No, you didn't. Not with Italian moms.
Not Italian moms. They just handle everything.
Moms are just as bad. I have some friends that way, too. They're great for that. Well, they did have some insight because now we're married 52 years. But our first date, my dad says, where are you taking the Faro girl? Because our families knew each other back then. We were part of the same community. They were in the grocery business. We were in the grocery business. When he first came, when my father-in-law, who I never met, unfortunately, first came in, I believe he even worked for us for a little while he was setting up his place.
Wow.
So it's all family, right? So everybody's excited that we're all together. My dad said, where are you taking this girl? I guess I'll go to the library. Library? So yeah, it's a bar, Dad. It's not really a library. It's the bar. Right? It's college bar right off of UNO, right by UNO's campus. Oh, you can't take that girl to no bar room. He said, you got to take her someplace nice. He reaches in his pocket. He gives me $100. Well, $100, pretty good amount. But back then, gas was 30 cents a gallon.
All right.
You could buy dinner for $1.95. So sure enough, I decided, well, I'll take her out this weekend someplace nice. I believe we went to the Playboy Club for our first date, saw a comedian, had a dinner, and I still pocketed $25 after everything was over. This was a lucrative venture. I said, wow, I had a good time. pretty girl, and I made money. Next week, my dad asked me, who you going out with? Well, light went off in my head. I'm asking out that Pharaoh girl again. But I don't have any money this week, Dad. I'm broke. He goes, wait, here. Gives me $100. You take her someplace nice. Well, I took her to my cousin's barroom where I'm with 3 other couples and everybody takes a turn buying a picture. Well, my picture's free. The other pictures everybody pays for their own, right? Because my cousin had to deal with me. You just bring them in and I'll give you your beer free. No problem. So I had $100 I pocketed that night, taking Debbie out, and we had a good time.
The banker in the corner had to be like, man, boy, gets pay dirt. I don't know what this kid's doing. He was pinching pennies,
Now he showed up with
12 years ago. Now this guy's deposited $100.
There you go. I was so excited. And then from that point on, it clicked. And I never dated another girl since.
That's amazing.
We've been together 52 years. 53 in September or 52 in September. The problem is you married this long, you forget. But I think it's 52.
Yeah, and she's awesome.
It's been always
great personality, great sense of humor, and I don't know how she put up with me for this long, but she did.
And I don't know if you know this, but Miss Deb and my mother-in-law are like best friends. They've been Wednesday shopping buddies since the kids were in grammar school, right? Yeah, and they're doing it today. And they've kept this tradition going for, gosh, many years, maybe 40 years.
And, that's another part of my life that I'm so blessed to have. So many friends from grammar school. I've got 3 or 4 friends from grammar school that we still stay in touch constantly. I must have 10 friends from, well, even more than that now, because I started another group of friends, the Aloysius, St. Aloysius High School, North Shore group. I got involved with them, and now we go to lunch once a month. And now we went from 4, I think we're up to 17.
Wow, that's really
good. It's amazing. I didn't even know they had that many people on the side of the lake.
Yeah.
But I've been blessed with so many different things. Golly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You're a relationship guy.
Yes.
I mean, you're, I've always sensed that about you. You're fun loving, you like to have a good time. Seeing you at work over the years too, if I'd stop in and, you're a relationship person. And the other thing that struck me is how many of those relationships you built over the years, maybe not even realizing what was happening, and how they ended up, maybe coming back around to help you when you were in a time of need, or as you say, how blessed you are. I also feel the same way, which is part of the whole concept of this podcast. Right. Is Ann and I have known each other as well for a long time, and have been part of each other's village, as we like to refer to it. And it's funny, you have your kind of inner group, and then you have this other group, and then it gets wider and wider. And for some of us, we're very blessed because our groups are just so expansive. And we feel like we're very blessed for that, because I know a lot of people who do not have those levels of relationships. And I don't know if it's because it's the way maybe they live their life on a day-to-day basis. That might be part of it. It might be personality, right? But we felt that we were kind of unique in that. And then I start, talking to you at a different level, and I'm like, well, man, Mr. Royce had one hell of a village himself.
Yeah. I've got high school friends. We started watching the first ever Monday night football game. I think it was late 50s, early 60s, whenever Monday night started.
Right.
My friend Jimmy and I were watching that game together. Of course, we were betting $5 each at that time, because we were in high school and we had our nickels saved. So we could bet $5 on a game and split it and see who won,
Right.
So it wound up him and I, and then sure enough, another guy joined us, and then another guy, and pretty soon my dad became part of it. So my mom used to fix dinner every Monday night at our house to entertain my friends, and we'd watch TV and watch the Monday night football game. So it got to be a tradition, because all my friends loved a free meal on Monday night.
Right.
And my mother was an entertainer. She loved serving us. That was her favorite thing to do, make her sons and her friends happy. So she did a good job with that. So we always had plenty to eat, had good food, good games, good camaraderie, and it was really a nice thing. And still today, that same group, unfortunately, 2 of us aren't with us anymore. We're down to 5, but hey, we still get together.
Interesting.
And we get together Monday night, and if you want to come join, you're more than welcome. So
It's all guys only. But interestingly
guys
enough, Joseph started doing that with his friends too. So it's like
just about to
I know you were, because
yeah,
that's why
and
you
you want to know something? My dad did that for us. I did it. My son saw it. He's doing it.
And he's
Yeah,
doing it.
right. It brings them all together. It gives us something to do. Like my North Shore Aloysius group, I'm so thrilled that we found each other that way.
Right.
And I think we all share off of each other. I saw a couple of the guys in church the other day. Wow, wait, this is amazing.
But it also
That's
goes back to
the point.
shaping,
Right.
right? Like, you've shared some stories about being a child and working in the grocery store and seeing things your dad did. And then here we go. Now we're talking about football, but the theme is still there,
That's
right?
right.
And Joseph's
Similar
growing up and he's
friends.
watching what you do with your friends and how you cultivate that and how you stay close, because life pulls us all apart, right? And it's hard to keep those groups together. And so now Joseph has successfully, and I've had a little bit of jealousy on occasion because I have a few friends in the group, and they've been
Not anyone gets invited.
many years doing the same thing, and it's because of the shaping, right? It's what we see from our parents that hopefully we are able to make part of our lives as we go through it.
Yeah, and I mean that it's so important to invest in your friendships, right? Because that could go in so many different directions, not just friends, but the networking side of it. Like, who are these people? What are they doing? How can they help me, right? You reached out to a lot of your vendors that might have been your friends when you were working for Second Harvest, and those are the connections that, because you've invested in these friendships and relationships that keep that ball moving.
So I want to spend a little bit of time, because it's intriguing to me, and I think Anna as well, working with family. Because, for the general public, the Zuppardo name has been around for
almost a century and
several generations,
Yeah.
and into, significant areas of the New Orleans metropolitan area in Gentilly for so many years, and then in Metairie, as it's grown over the years too. And so people come in. I don't even know how many thousands of people are coming in the grocery on a weekly basis, and all this.
And on a Saturday, and probably about 3,000 every other day.
Really?
And I think it's like so many.
I always wondered that. I love that you know those numbers.
Oh, he knows those numbers.
That's awesome.
And
I tell you how much they spend too, but I don't want to say it.
But when it's easy for all of us, and the analogy I always use is, and you were talking about football, it's like we turn on Monday Night Football and we're like sitting there with our buddies and we're like, man, look at these guys. What a great life these guys have. I mean, they make a bunch of money. They're on TV. They get nice cars.
I think they were old guys too, and now that I'm 70,
Babies, right?
Babies.
But we look at it and it all just looks so simple.
Yes, it does.
And what we don't see until recently, some of these Netflix specials that are really giving us in golf, in the NFL, and now the SEC and other sports, F1 racing, the behind the scenes look. Mm-hmm. And what I find so interesting about that, it's really caused me to reflect as well and go, I'm not sure that is maybe, the life I want, because it's really hard. And I think it's similar when you look at a family business that you all have had now for 4 generations. Everybody comes in and we get the same grocery bags, and it's Zuppardo's. We say hello to everybody.
And I think people often think like, oh, business owners, they're so lucky, they're so fortunate. It's a lot of work.
They just show up and shake hands.
It's a lot of work.
And they don't really understand the dynamics, not only of just running a business. That's a challenge in of itself, but the family dynamic, right?
And working with family is a blessing. I mean, you get to work with your family all day, but it's also a problem because you got to work with your family all day, then you go home and you still got family. Now we do learn to separate that. It is a skill. It's not everybody can do it, but we've been blessed that we've been able to do it that way. And it isn't easy, and it never was. I mean, like I said, since I was 5, I've had some sort of work skills. And we always worked long and hard. It was not an issue. When I was in college, I was working Opening the store at the Gentili store, we were without a manager at the time. Until we get somebody, you go to work 6:30 in the morning. Then I'd go to class at UNO, which was right down the street. And I'd come back in the afternoon, close the store. So, hey, and all my friends, well, let's we going to the thing tonight. No, I got to go back to work. Never really, and it was the way I lived. It was just the way life was. I didn't experience weekends off until I retired. So I didn't know what that was.
And I mean, you say that, and it's hard to process.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's like you say that so quickly because it just comes out easy. But the reality of it is you start to think about a 35, 45-year block of time,
Right.
that has been dedicated, by yourself and the others working there. And it's like, I just think it's like so many of these stories that people don't really have an appreciation for. They just see all of the good stuff, the commercials and hopefully some success economically. And they're like, oh yeah, well that's that. And the answer is, well, not really, like, not really. I mean, one of the things that'll make you laugh, when I first began spending time with your brother, Joey, I happened to go, why I used his restroom. I have no idea, at his house, his bathroom, but I did. And there's a phone in it. And I'm like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. So, of course, I come out and I'm like, Mr. Joey, why is there a phone in your bathroom? And he says, when I wake up at like 4:30 in the morning, sometimes I got to call the tomato guy, make sure things are going on before I get there. Or I got to take the call. If I'm in the bathroom, I don't want to miss the call because people are depending on me.
No cell phones back then.
Well, there were no cell phones. And I'm like, and this is in the 90s or whatever. And I'm just like, I thought it was humorous and funny. The reality of it is, it's like, it really struck me. And it's like you saying, I didn't know what a weekend was until I retired.
Right.
Those are powerful statements, and you're not complaining about it. It's just who you are and what you guys did.
It was just life. That's how you did it.
Right.
Those guys might be off on the weekend, but you got to be here. And
Right.
It was never a question. It was, hey, that's my job. I got to do it.
So what was when you look back, what was the biggest challenge you think that you guys faced, and you had to rally as a family to address something that may have come your way?
Tough question. Try to narrow it down a little bit more for me.
Just anything. Maybe it's a downturn. I mean, people have to eat.
Right.
But maybe it's a downturn in economy. Maybe it's some of the hurricanes. Maybe it's a family, someone is involved in the business and gets ill and they need to step back for, I don't know. But I'm curious as to maybe a rally point where at first it looks like crisis, and then everybody kind of falls back on why we're here and who we are. And then you kind of rally the troops. And
so I have to, the thing comes to my mind is Katrina. More than anything, that was a pure test of will. The first time I'd ever evacuated for a storm was Katrina, because when I saw the massive size of it, I'm fortunate enough to have a farm on this side of the lake in Covington. So I'm on high ground out here, as you are too, as we all are, thank goodness. And knew that if a hurricane would come and it was flooding in the street, I wouldn't have any issues where I am. So we came to Covington. I had the same idea as 27 other people. We all wound up at my house in Covington, 27 of us, a ferret, a rabbit, and I can't tell you how many dogs with Katrina. But anyway, Katrina was the rallying point after the disastrous hurricane. Listen, my house survived. My house in Metairie survived with just a little water in it. My store had a section of the roof blown off and a couple of signs down and just, stuff, trash all over. But
you're talking about the Metairie store?
The Metairie store. But it wasn't a complete loss. Nothing was damaged. Everything was on the shelf except the bottom shelf. We had to throw everything on the bottom, but everything else was fine. The Gentili store, unfortunately, was under 3.5 to 4 feet of water all throughout the store, and it stayed that way for weeks. When we were in Covington and after the storm had hit, and we had done okay with the storm, right?
Right.
The problem was the levee breaking after. And then once that happened, no communications and stuff like that. So I didn't know how to text during Katrina, and I guarantee you, a lot of the people that I know that were my age never texted once in their life until Katrina came. And we all learned how to text because that was our way of communication. And we had those old flip phones. Right. It took you forever to send, hey, where are you?
Each letter you had to hit, remember, 3 times.
Yeah, it's disgusting. So, but we got it done. And we had a friend on the city council. And we said, listen, we've been doing groceries for 100 years. We knew a storm was in the Gulf. Let's get all of our bread in. Let's get all of our milk in. It was right before Thanksgiving. We had just bought a whole bunch of turkeys for the Thanksgiving holiday. Labor Day was right there. Mm-hmm. So we had a truckload of ribs for a sale. We had just gotten a truckload of beef. I mean, we were just brimming, and I had batteries. I had candles. We were so prepared it wasn't even funny, because you know how to do these things after all these years. So sure enough, I said, Joseph, you call your boy. I heard how bad it was. You get us over there, and I'll open the store and give them whatever they need, and I'll be able to supply them. Well, sure enough, it caught their attention. They called me, they texted me back, come across. So we made our way to the Causeway Bridge, and we were greeted by 4 armed policemen, and I think 1 Coast Guard guy, and guns. What are you doing here? You know? And I go, I'm crossing the bridge. I'm going to Metairie. I got permission to cross the bridge. He goes, no, you don't. Nobody can cross this bridge. I go, well, somebody said they got my name on a sheet. So I called up our contact, and I texted our contact, had Joseph do it, because I couldn't. And he obviously told the guy where to go. Look, they let us through. I think it was the scariest thing I ever saw. I was the only car on the causeway, either direction, for the whole trip. Got off, went to the store, and actually it was a clear path to the store, but there were telephone poles down all over. It looked like a war zone. I got to the store, and the firemen were there. The glass on the door had been broken, and somebody had gotten in and was trying to steal cigarettes and liquor, rolling them in baskets, but he couldn't get the baskets out the door. So they were throwing the cigarettes out and found the basket outside, loaded them up, and then the firemen came, because when we told them, hey, we were on our way, they came and they stopped the guys from stealing the cigarettes. So that worked out to be good. Everybody was happy. We got back into the store. They helped me get a lot of things done. And we opened it up for everybody. And there was the thing was, FEMA wasn't prepared for this storm. Nobody was prepared for what had happened. So that was like the 3rd day after the storm, the 3rd or 4th day. Not even a bottle of water in town, nowhere. It was sad. So when I opened up, they were thrilled. The policemen came, the firemen came, EMS people came. Whatever y'all need, come take.
So it was mostly at that point like first responders, because
nobody was in town.
Nobody was in town, right?
Hardly.
Even if someone stayed, they got.
Well, the water had come up and they had to leave.
Right
at that point.
Right.
Well, the next day and every day thereafter, we sitting around waiting. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? A few employees started showing up.
Hi.
But one day I asked the captain. I said, "Can you bring me to the Gentili store? I want to go see my store." He calls the guy up. He says, "There's no way." He says, "The water in the store."
Oh, so you were talking about the Metairie store now.
I was talking about the Gentili.
Oh, okay.
I was in the Metairie. Okay. I was in the Metairie store. I asked the fireman, I said, "Can you get me to my Gentili store? I want to see how it looks." And he convinced me that there's no way I can get you to the interstate, but the water is still on Elysian Fields. He said, "You're not going to be able to get in." I said, "Okay." He said, "But I'll take you to the levee if you want to go see it." I go, "Where I want to go." The 17th Street Canal. So
because ultimately, and just
there was
for
nobody
everybody,
in town hardly.
But
So.
I want to tap into a little bit different side of this. Not then we can jump back in. But I mean, this is an area Gentili where that store was, which is what you were referencing in the beginning of this about your youth. I mean, this is the area that you grew up in.
Oh, yes.
That you were the family's a massive part of that community.
Oh, without a doubt.
Like you say, friends and family, etc. We're talking about That was in
Well, 70 years of
2005. So,
goodwill, yeah, 70 years of goodwill built up in that corner. So
Wow.
so just
Before Katrina.
before,
Y'all had been there 7
yeah.
years.
So like I cannot even imagine, because I know how I felt going through Katrina without 1/5 of the background that you had in that area. And so I can't even imagine just the emotion of when you finally get there, and not only that your business has issues and obviously that's a concern, but the overwhelming feeling of, oh my God, like this is where I just spent 50 years of my life.
exactly.
And like it's flooded.
It was devastating. But once we got to the building, by the time we were able to get to our Gentili store, I had realized that there was no way anybody was going to make it over there. So when we got to it and I opened that door and the stench, there's just no way. And the city's saying, what are you going to do? You got to clean this up. I go, well, I'm going to demo this whole thing. And that's what I had to do. It was a 100-year-old building, almost 80-year-old building. So we demoed the building, and after we had to clean it out, that was a mess too. But we cleaned out the veteran store and got all these supplies out in time while they were still fresh into the hands of the people that needed it. That, more than anything, made me feel really good. God, still worked for the food bank. And I wasn't a board chair at the time, but I'm sure I was on the board in some capacity. And when the hurricane came, we were always prepared, right? Food bank is first one there on the scene. We were devastated too. We had no leadership. I was preoccupied.
Right.
The reigning president, who is still on the board with me as emeritus now, took control for me. Feeding America, our parent company, came down and said, hey, all of our operations are moving to Robert, Louisiana. There's an empty Walmart warehouse there. So sure enough, whoever we had, our staff, everybody moved over there. They provided bedding and everything for us. Our board chair at the time, Leanne, stayed there while it happened. And then after they got their feet on the ground and they were able to come back to New Orleans, the staff from out of town that was helping run the food bank stayed at Leanne's house with her.
That's amazing.
It was just the way things were done during Katrina.
Right.
Like when we were cleaning out our store, some of our employees didn't have a place to stay. Stayed at my house. I remember, feeding them 6 or 7 every night and people laying in the dining room.
Right.
Sleep.
You did whatever it took.
Just whatever
it took.
Because ultimately, and we're seeing a lot of this today, right, in the world where there's a lot of challenges that are arising, let's say, from natural disasters or whatever, maybe the horrific fires that we see, hurricanes, tornadoes, things of this nature. And you mentioned FEMA was totally unprepared, and there's some that would argue even today, 20 years later, 25 years later, it's still unprepared.
Right.
And ultimately, I think there's this great debate about, what is the ultimate role that they should be playing, and what is the role of the community?
Right.
And I think that what you're talking about and being part of that is just really special, because what you were part of is closing the gap between what at that moment felt like total incompetence and lack of planning, which left people's lives really in jeopardy. But so to be able to help close that gap, not only on one front with the grocery store, but also on the Second Harvest side, it's just awesome. And I don't think when you were a kid watching your dad, help someone who was really in need, little did you know, fast forward, that, there you would be X number of years later, 40, 50 years later, with a business crumbling in front of you, the world crumbling in front of you, but at that same moment, finding a way to be communal and to give back to the extent you can. Like you said, well, I couldn't leave my business to go run Second Harvest.
Right.
Clearly, that's the priority. But you didn't just say, hey, I'll see you guys in 6 months. Right?
Well, let me tell you, to be perfectly honest, I hadn't had a vacation in years. And after I saw this devastation when I first got here, the devastation was such, my first intent was, all right, it's going to be a couple of weeks before they clean this mess up. I'm going to Europe. I've always wanted to go on a European vacation with my family. Called up my wife. I said, start planning a trip to Europe. I was excited.
And probably because you're like, I mean, no one's coming to the store.
What are you going to do?
Right. Business is not what.
It's not going to be here.
Right. So I can get away while we're slow, basically.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. So sure enough, I told her that. And the next day, employees started showing up. What are you doing? I came here. Can I get some stuff? Yeah, get what you want, just store. All my employees, anybody that was around, tell everybody, any of my employees that bring them here. We want to, number one, give them what they need. Number two, get them to come to work.
Right.
Because we're going to start cleaning up. Once I started seeing the people start to show up and the looks on their face for direction, I knew that they were counting on me to get this place back up as soon as possible because they had nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
That woke me up. I mean, that was the wake-up call for me that said, okay, this isn't about you going to Europe, idiot. It's about everybody.
It's like seeing the gentleman's face.
Yeah.
But look,
I mean, that's what I'm hearing. It's like, here we go again. It's like this idea, and lots of people might hear that and be like, well.
But I don't think it was a silly idea. I mean, you just talked about how you worked from 6:30 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. You didn't have weekends off. And so when a situation like that happens and you're like, I don't have anything to do. I can't, even if I wanted to. So I don't think it was as silly as.
Well, I think it was a selfish thought, but
I think once your employees came in.
And once I started seeing how important it was to everybody else, that made the difference. And well, first off, giving away the food was heartbreaking for me. I said, well, there he goes. But when the guy came in and said, we need baby food for some shelter, whatever it was, man, come get it. I'm loaded with baby food.
Right.
So I felt so good that everything was being used.
Right.
Golly. So one night, I always told them no cigarettes, no liquor, no beer. The EMS guys came one night. Look, we're having a big party for the Coast Guard and the EMS, and it was like 3 weeks after everything, and they've been working for days. But come get what you need. So we did give them some beer. We said, we're not guaranteeing the beer is good because it's been back there for 2 weeks. There's no water on it, but you can take it, and they enjoyed it. So yes, that was the only time I gave away beer and cigarettes, but
it's not in the same.
It was a joy just to make sure that everybody had what they needed and we provided it for them. But a lot of it was good luck because once we opened the store, the councilman said, hey, I got a cleanup guy looking for a place to land. Do you want to use this cleanup guy? Man, I don't, it's my first major hurricane.
Right.
What do I need a cleanup guy for? I'll clean it up myself. No, you need a cleanup guy. Okay, so he sends me this guy. The best thing they ever did. They came in. We were able to clean up the store with his crew in a matter of days, with his crew and my crew. Not only that, he showed me what to do, what I needed to do, which was more important because we had plenty of people, but we had enough people that were wanting to do things, just didn't have anywhere to go, no electricity, nothing to do. Show me what to do and I'll do it. Sure enough, he taught us what to do. We got it all cleaned up. We were open 19 days later.
Wow.
19 days later, we opened up. So that was amazing. And when we opened up, it was the first day we had electricity. We could have opened up earlier, but we never had electricity till that day before. So the lines were out the door. It was just so much.
Now, were you able to, how long did it take before you could restock?
Well, what we did, our routine was, I was living in Hammond at the Super 8 Motel. I was very lucky. I had a hotel room, and there was only 6 of us in it, and 2 dogs. So, that was, at least I had a house that had air conditioning.
Right.
The room was air conditioned. And I can remember there was a Cracker Barrel right in the parking lot. And my wife and I spent our anniversary at Cracker Barrel that night, and one of the best meals. We went to Cracker Barrel this week because we still love Cracker Barrel so much because of the memory of that night of our anniversary. So, and living in Hammond. So we're back at the store. We're working during the day because there's no electricity. We go home at dark, And in the store, we're saying, hey, FEMA trailers. We're starting to hear rumors of FEMA trailers. The girl says, Roy, here's the number for the guy at the FEMA office. I call him up. The guy that answers the phone, he says, okay, what's your name? And I told him who I was. He goes, the grocery guy? Yeah. He said, I used to work for you. I said, what? He goes, yeah, I'm so-and-so. Well, I didn't remember the name. Oh, yeah, I know who you are. I remember you. Well, anyway, he was as nice as he could be. He said, my mom still shops there.
Oh.
What do you need? I said, well, I got all these employees. Nobody's got a place to live. If they had a place, I could get them. I got trailers for you. He said, I'm coming out tomorrow. I'm going to be in your area. I'll show you what you need to do. Man, he comes out the next day. He says, see this parking lot? Let's do this. I had to provide plumbing. They had to provide electricity and a flat gravel surface. Got everything done in a day.
Wow.
Or maybe 2. And sure enough, the FEMA trailers started to come. I had 26 trailers, all of them filled with families that work for them.
That's amazing.
Now, they were thrilled to come back to town. They had a place to live.
Right.
They had a grocery store to work in. And
yeah, that was like the perfect scenario during Katrina.
So for a year, however long we had those trailers in the back of the store, we had those families living there and working with us. And that's another reason we were able to be the first store open.
And so I hear the story there about, you dial the FEMA number and the person who answers the phone says, wait a minute, I think I know you. Mm-hmm. And I just think to myself, that's not coincidental.
No, I didn't think so either.
It's something spiritual going on. And when you are living a life where you're, working hard for yourself and your family, but you're also trying as best you can to do for others, sometimes big things, sometimes small things, whatever it may be, that whether it's karma or whatever everyone believes in, it seems to me that it comes back around. And it's most interesting that it comes back around oftentimes when you're almost at your breaking point of like, I just don't know what I'm going to do. And then a guy answers the phone and says, I got you. The grocery guy? I used to bag groceries for you. Now you're feeling bad. Like, I don't remember this guy.
No, he did remember him. It's little Jimmy. He remembers little Jimmy.
So, just an awesome cycle of life story to me,
That was full circle there. So we were very fortunate in so many stories for Katrina. Golly.
All right.
I want to shift gears a little bit, if y'all don't mind.
Sure.
Because we've talked about your family and your upbringing. We've talked about the store and obviously, having family involved and successes and battling through crisis. But there's these other sides of you too that I find interesting. You've dabbled in the horse business. I'm using that word loosely. And you've also in later years started focusing on real estate and done some quite sizable real estate development projects. And so one of the things Ann and I also find interesting is people who, start down one path and then for whatever reason, it sort of morphs in that path, sometimes shifts hard left or right. In your case, it kept moving down the main path, but you were able to have some nice digressions, I guess, along the way.
Passion projects.
Maybe they were passion projects. Maybe they were economically driven. I'm not sure. But talk to us a little bit about the horses and the real estate,
all right,
how it started and where it is.
I always loved horses. My first racehorse story is a little kid working at the store. It's a Saturday. It was hot. I had to get buggies all day. I'm sweating. I'm not happy. My uncle's going to see his horse at the racetrack. And I said, Uncle, can I come with you? And he goes, yeah, come on, I'll take you. And so sure enough, I got away from the store for an hour. So I went to the racetrack. I got to pet these horses. And he goes, he was looking at one particular horse that was to run that afternoon or later that day, whatever it was. And his name was Restful. That was the name of Restful. Well, I would want a horse that was so restful. But anyway, that was his name. So sure enough, I pet Restful and, I loved it. I fell in love with the horse. So I said, can I come back and watch him race with you? Okay. Well, he gave me $5 to bet on Restful.
And how old were you?
I got the picture at the house. I was 10. Maybe,
Good old days.
Maybe 9. So $5 got me $75.
Oh, wow.
Now, that went right into my bank, right?
The banker again is like,
Banker was like, sort of, you must have worked good today.
right.
So sure enough, that never left me. So from that moment on, I always loved horses. And when I got old enough to start, my uncle had a breeding stallion named Zuppardo's Prince, who turned out to be one of the best breeders in the state for at least 10 of his 15 years at stud. So I always loved horses. I knew bloodlines, and I helped my uncle manage his stable operations.
Okay.
I did the books for him occasionally and ran errands for him. So,
The truth.
I wanted to
Sat it all fantasy. I ran the operation. There's a translation. I ran his errands. I was
in his errands. I kept his books. So I wanted to breed. I couldn't. He wouldn't let me. So I said, well, you know what? I love the horse. I bought a place out here in Covington in 1987. And I said, I'm going to raise thoroughbreds. Well, he told me, there's no way you can raise thoroughbreds. You still got kids. They got to go to school. You can't afford thoroughbreds. And when your daddy or your uncle tells you that in an Italian family, you got to listen, because everybody was your boss back then. Everybody was your dad back then. Even the neighbors would call and tell on you, your son's over here doing this. So back in the old days, that was the way it was. So when your uncle told you they couldn't do it, I couldn't do it. All right, I had to listen to my Italian uncle. So I said, well, you know what? He didn't tell me I couldn't raise Tennessee walking horses, so I went and bought me some Tennessee walking horses. I learned how to breed. I learned how to show. I learned all of the aspects of the business. At my ranch with my horse, I had as many as 26 Tennessee walking horse mares on my place and in Tennessee at different times. It was fun. I wasn't making money. No one does in the horse business, which is true, but it was a lot of fun, and I wasn't losing too much, so I was doing okay.
And you still have a place today.
And I still have the place today. And when my kids graduated from school, I said, now I can afford mares. So I started buying. I went to Kentucky, went to Florida, went to Louisiana sales, bought a few mares. Then I got to breed to Zuppardo's Prince, but it was his last year of being able to breed. He died shortly thereafter. So I got one Zuppardo's Prince baby, and that was it. I was so disappointed. And he was very good, one of my better horses, too.
You still have?
No. I think the horse died I don't remember when, but he died at 26 years old.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And my uncle paid more for that horse than I paid for my house. My uncle was a very frugal person. I mean, never misspent any money until he got to the horse business. And then he called me up to tell me he bought a horse in Kentucky at the sale, because I wanted to go to the sale with him, right? No, you can't come. But I'm going to try to buy a horse. He called me up. He was so excited. He bought this horse, Zuppardo's Prince. He wound up naming it in Kentucky, and he paid the enormous price of $51,000 for it, which at that time was a lot of money. It was more than I paid for my house that I lived in Mettering at the time, and I had 2 kids. So for him to spend that kind of money, I went, wow, I can't wait to see this horse. Well, it turned out to be a very good horse. He won a couple of big stake races, and we syndicated him after for a nice price. He was very successful with this particular horse. Mm-hmm. But it's good to be lucky in the horse business, and it's better to be lucky than smart sometimes. So I had the stallions.
Maybe the other lesson for those listening, and Ann and I are definitely listening, is, when you're frugal in making good decisions along the way in your life, then every now and then you have a moment on something that you're passionate about, and you say, I'm going to do something that's a little out of character because I can now, because I've been in these incremental steps for the last X number of years, whether it's putting the pennies with the banker and a couple of $75 and $25 we're here now, and that's sort of probably what happened with him. He was running his business and raising his kids, his family, all this stuff, and being frugal. And then he had the moment of,
Splurge.
life is short, and I want this damn horse.
Yep. And
it's awesome.
And it turned out to be a good move for him. And then I eventually wound up with thoroughbreds. I got to do what I wanted to do, and I learned how to do all of that because he wouldn't let me do it initially with the thoroughbreds. I got to do it with a little less expensive breed that was more family friendly and had a lot of family programs with it. All my kids showed a horse from time to time. In Baton Rouge, we go to the show every year.
I would really like some pictures of Joseph
showing a horse.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, send me a few of those. That might get me into the Monday Night Football group.
There you go.
A little blackmail.
Right.
So that's the horses, and you still have it today, and it's been part of who you are since I've known you.
Right. Unfortunately, it is never been a money-making venture. So if you're thinking about going into thoroughbreds, I can tell you how to make yourself a millionaire in the thoroughbred business in less than a year. Start with $3 million. Right. So yeah, that's a good.
I was like, oh wait, I want to hear this.
Yeah, it's like everything else. It looks so nice,
it's
easy.
And I know I find the harder we worked, the luckier we got. So there you go. Same way with the horses. You got to be lucky to get started.
I remember when Jennifer and I first started hanging out, Mr. Roy would be like, oh, we're having a baby. We're having a baby. We're having a baby horse. And we would come down to the ranch, sometimes in the middle of the night, like it's happening tonight. Y'all got to get out here. And we would go, and there would be this fresh little baby horse.
Yeah. What a joy.
Look at that smile.
It was, but those were such great days and nights. Like, and then Mr. Roy would name it the next day, and then eventually the horse would get sold.
Yeah, I haven't witnessed that yet. I feel like it's in my future. I'm sort of in the horse business, not at the thoroughbred level. But
remember, I told you I love horses, but I'm really afraid of horses. I don't like getting on them. I'd like petting them, but I like keeping my distance.
There you go. A lot of people are like that, but I find girls really do enjoy horses. I don't know what it is.
And they're beautiful.
And they have a better way with horses than guys do.
Really?
I really feel that way.
Well, one of the things I've learned being around horses now is, and did not necessarily have the appreciation for it, is they are highly intuitive. Their ability to sense things is unbelievable to me. And maybe that's why, in your experience,
I'm looking at Mr. Roy. He's looking at you.
I've had some dumb horses in my life. I'm sure there are.
Mr. Roy's like, wait,
a lot of them. You might not have dealt.
You must have the advanced horses.
but they just tend to be. They can sense what's going on. Now they also every one of them that I've been around also demonstrate what I would call dumbness as well. It's just that they have a mind of their own and they're going to do what they want. But maybe that's why, in your experience, females do better with the horses, because women are, to me, typically more intuitive, have more of that sense, and have the ability to sense things better than most men.
And I think horses pick that up.
Yeah,
they pick up stuff from us. There's no doubt. If I'm in a bad mood, that horse knows it.
So that's the horses. Now let's flip over to real estate and take us on that journey, if you don't mind. How did that start?
Well, my dad and my uncle had the Gentili store. They were partners and operating it together when I was real young. And in 1959, I believe, they sold out to a company in Houston, Texas called Weingarten.
Which neither one of us knew this. And I paused when I read that, and I was like, I had no clue that at one point the store had been sold. Because that was the only store at that time.
Right. And so they sold the business. We were doing really big business in a small building, and Weingarten said, hey, we can come in here and we can double this business. If these little operators know how to do it and they're doing this good, imagine what we can do. So sure enough, they leased the store from my dad and my uncle.
Okay.
And turned the store that was one of the busiest stores in the city to a store that was barely making it. What they didn't plan on was the uniqueness of the New Orleanians and their love for food, because theirs was a paper cutter approach to business back then. Now, not that Weingarten's didn't do well. Weingarten's expanded in Houston and all through Texas with plenty stores. Today, they are a big real estate conglomerate. They're out of the grocery business. So back then, when my parents sold, my dad went into the real estate business. My Uncle Tony decided to play with some horses. My dad would take me on Sundays. We'd show houses. We'd go look at properties. We'd do all these things. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just riding along. I guess I was just company for him, or somebody to go get that sign or go hang this up here or whatever. I didn't realize what I was doing, but I was enjoying being with my dad, right? So I learned, hey, this might be the way to do it. When I got out of college, my dad had some doubles, and he had bought his first commercial building when I was a senior in college, and it was a Winn-Dixie grocery store. It was on the corner of Almanassa and Franklin. And he said, look, he says, they're going to pay this much rent. Man, Dad, that's an 18% return on your money. Man, this is good. You know, I was in college. I knew all of that stuff, right? I'm going to learn how to do this. And I did. So I had a good start. My dad had some properties already. And the grocery store was renting from one of our companies, because the family leases the grocery store to the operators. So although there's a lot of mixed ownership in there, I own the property, but I don't own any of the store. The kids own the store.
Got it. Separate entity.
Yeah. So, and I think my brother Joey's family and other families run similar. You know, the operators are different than the real estate owners, and then there might be some mixes there. But real estate business, I went from wanting to buy doubles, getting out of college, to realizing that doubles were a pain in the gula. Every time somebody would call you up, my light bulb is out or whatever. This isn't working. So I learned commercial was the way to go. And so I started gearing towards commercial properties, and I found a nice piece out here and bought, and it's turned out to be very lucrative. Key is finding the right property and the location.
So you would say that old cliche is accurate?
Oh, without a doubt.
In the commercial setting?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Well, probably in both, but more important probably in the commercial setting.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Location is everything. I'd like to be next door to a Buc-ee's next. I went in Mississippi the other day. We wrote down the numbers to call up to buy the property too. So, hey, that's what you got to do. You're looking, you say, hey, there's a Buc-ee's right there, and there's a big empty piece of property. Somebody might want that one day. Let me call up. Of course, those people have already raised the price once. But what we found is even that initial raise, later on comes another raise. So you got to have time. You got to have capital. And you can do well in this business.
And so did you follow the real estate because you were passionate about it? Or was it a combination of, I have my job and my career, and I know I'm going to be involved in the stores, but I want to diversify for myself so that down the road, whenever I retire or whatever, that I can focus in on this? Was it a diversification approach, or was it just kind of like?
It was diversification more than anything, simply because Katrina put all of us in the same building. 2 companies, two grocery stores, one place. It was a little crowded.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see my being there wasn't necessary. So that's when I said, hey, guys, I'm retiring from the grocery store. You guys have got more than enough going on. I'm going to go do something else.
Was that a hard decision?
Not at all. No, it was. I was 59 years old when I retired. I had planned to retire at 55. I don't know what happened, but it didn't work out.
Katrina.
Because I figured, yeah.
All right, Katrina.
Because I figured the weekends that I had worked, I was 80 in years old at 55. So that was my goal. But I did retire before 60, so I was happy with that. But now I started my new career, and that was real estate, looking for properties and then developing them. Mm-hmm. I did find a nice piece here, built. I was going to buy it for us. That was my intent. We were going to put a Zuppardo's on Highway 21 in Covington. And great story here, too, I can tell you. And Winn-Dixie's not here anymore, so I can say it.
That's true.
We were getting ready to decide to build our store. And when Dixie came to me and said, "Hey, we want that property that you just bought," and they go, "I'm sorry, I'm going to put a grocery store there." He goes, "Well, who can we talk to?" I said, "Well, you're talking to the guy." You know,
I am the board.
yeah, I am the whole board. So he goes, "Well," he goes, "You're in the real estate business?" And yeah, he says, "Are you going to the convention in Vegas?" I said, "Yes, I am." He goes, "Well, we're going to be up there. Can we make a meeting?" And I go, "Sure." So we did. And I'm meeting with 3 or 4 Winn-Dixie guys. And they're sitting me down at the Flamingo Hotel. And they're saying, "We really want this property. You just got to come up with a number." And we started talking. I get up, I got to go to the restroom. I get up and go to the restroom. And as I'm walking behind the booth, they can't see me. I hear the guy saying, "Listen, when he gets back, we got to close this deal. The boss is on our ass. If we don't get this thing, our ass is grass." Called up my cousin. "Peter, how bad do you want to be in the grocery business? Would you rather be in the real estate business?" He goes, "Why?" I said, "Winn-Dixie will pay us anything we want for this property." So sure enough, we came to a deal that we thought was amazing, and they took it. And so we decided, well, we'll build the grocery store for Winn-Dixie. So we did. And then with the profits from some of that, I started building other buildings, and that's where we are.
It's a beautiful development.
It's a beautiful development. And my store in Metairie is, I took the plans from the Winn-Dixie and tweaked them. I knew everything that we had done wrong because I was involved in all of the building. I knew everything I had done wrong. Gave my architect, "This is the plan I want, and this is what I don't want in it." And so we modified it, and we got the store in Veterans, and it was the Winn-Dixie. It was the first Winn-Dixie that they built coming out of bankruptcy.
Wow.
Winn-Dixie was in bankruptcy at the time I made the deal. Everybody thought I was nuts. Why are you giving Winn-Dixie a chance at this store? Well, because if they fail, I still got their money,
Right.
and I can operate it the next day. I can move in, and in 2 days, I can take over the store. So I'll go take the signs down and operate a grocery store that I wanted anyway.
Right.
And the location turned out to be a very good one. So
That's a great story.
That is a good one.
but the building turned out to be a problem.
Oh,
So there's another theme I'm picking up on here, and I think it would be good to get your thoughts on. When I listened to you in the car with your dad when he decided to get in real estate on Sundays, driving around, showing houses, putting signs in the yard. When I hear about you being involved in the Winn-Dixie and being involved in the construction of the building, learning from that and then being able to use it. I mean, one of the things I hear that seems to be embedded in you and in your family is that when you're going to own a business, you have to be active in it. In most cases, I'm not, obviously you could buy a rental property. I don't mean that, but when it's a business that has substantial upside, and it's part of your future, that whether it's putting the signs in the yard on Sundays, right, and doing the showings yourself, or being at the work site in organizing many years later and watching them build the Winn-Dixie.
or negotiating the actual
Negotiating the
contract,
deal.
right? The deal.
It seems to me that that's embedded in kind of who you are, is that if you're involved in something, you aren't just the guy at the top who can pull the economic strings and make things happen, that you truly enjoy, but also recognize that skill set is necessary to some degree, might change depending upon what you're working on, but in order for it to work, right?
Well,
Would you, because I find that the newer generations, including mine, and certainly the ones below me, have this mentality that, you buy a business, you become the owner, you start a business, and it's just gonna happen. I'm gonna have the big house, I'm gonna have the nice car, I'm gonna go to Europe. In fact, I'm going to Europe twice a year.
Yep.
And all these things are just gonna happen. And to me, it's more about incremental wins and learning along the way and steps. I've heard a lot of that today. And it's also, you've got to be involved wherever your skill set is, And so I was just curious if you're seeing that same
My
trend.
uncle brought me up, my daddy the same way. You cannot operate a business unless you know that business, unless you're in there every day. It's not rocket science. The grocery business isn't rocket science. The success comes from hard work every day and learning from your mistakes, because more than anything, you're going to make mistakes no matter what business you go into. Know that you're going to do that, and know that you're going to learn, because if you don't, you're going to go broke. You learn from your mistakes. It costs you $100 to learn that lesson. Keep it in the back of your mind. You're going to have that same opportunity to mess up again, but you'll have learned that lesson. Keep that there. Working experience is, without a doubt, being there is an important part of any business, and being committed to that business is a very important part of it. Success won't come if you're hardened in it. That's the way I feel.
You shared with me when you were younger and the company's transitioning to the next generation, a conversation you had with your uncle. If you could share that. And then my follow-up question is going to be, what was your conversation like with your children who were working in the business, and your nephew and so forth? So just kind of share for us, how it went for you, and then how years later, here you go, and now you're the Uncle Tony or the dad that's now having to pass this thing on and deliver a message, whatever it was.
So we learned a lot growing up, and I mean, I've got the marks to prove it. Right? My uncle told me my first day, come and work at the Gentili store. That was his store. My dad had the veteran store, my uncle had the Gentili store. Okay. And at the end of the day, my uncle would go to the veteran store. They finished up the day there together. But that was his store. That was his baby. So my first day at work, I remember him coming in and going, "Now let me tell you something, boy." He said, "I worked all my life for this business." He says, "I don't want you coming in here and messing it up." And he gave me a loving buffaloni, I'll call it.
What is a buffaloni?
A buffaloni is a backhanded Italian slap. Now, he never did it like a mean slap. He did it as a little
attention grabber.
Yeah, but he got my attention with it, and he wanted me to hear, "You better not mess it up." That's what the buffaloni did. Make you pay attention. You better not mess it up. So that was my instruction, and I don't think I did. I think we did good after that. So did I do that to my kids? No, not quite. But my kids started working when they were little.
I was going to say, they took the same footsteps that you took.
So, and listen, I never forced my kids to be in this business. I never felt forced to be in the business. I felt a little pressure to be in it. But if I wanted to go my own way, like my brother did being a chiropractor, I could have done it. I'd have had a low resistance maybe. But for my kids, y'all do what you want. And, but once they start seeing, hey, if I work this hard, I only have to work so many years and then I'm free. And I think it registered with them. And I think they're doing well enough now to where they appreciate it now. Mm-hmm. But, just like I was started, my daddy never paid me until I got married. I got my first paycheck when I got married. And my first paycheck was less than the bread man that delivered bread to the store, because I used to cash his check on Friday. Okay? I said, "Dad, I'm making less than the bread man. I got a college degree. When are you going to pay me what I should be?" "Don't worry about that. You'll get it one day." Sure enough, I did the same thing with my kids. My kids hated me when they got out of college. They're making less than what the normal college kid makes. Hey, you'll get there one day. Mm-hmm. So sure enough, they did. And I'm glad. And it teaches you, if anything and nothing else, how to budget yourself for a year. If I've got $100 in my pocket, I'm going to spend whatever that portion is. If I got $1,000 in my pocket, I'm going to spend that much more. Give you a little money, learn how to manage that, then you get more later.
Right.
And that's basically what my parents did with me, my uncle did with his son. We all have a good sense of value of hard work and earnings.
Right.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that your dad's looking down with a big, big smile and very, very proud. I can tell you, and very proud. And you can sense your pride in seeing, the next generation taking it. And it's just really an awesome story. And so many multi-generational businesses don't make it to the fourth generation.
Right.
And I feel, for whatever it's worth, is because the value system changes over the years with each generation, and in the work, in the core things that are what got grandpa where he was and dad, it starts to, because of society, it lightens up and everybody changes. And so then when the third generation gets in, or second, they don't know how to truly manage it, whether it's the budget or early success, to your point, or just the monstrosity of these things that they're taking on, because they haven't run the track to get there. Right. And it's been handed to them, so to speak. And I think that's ultimately what causes the failure of so many of those businesses. And you all have the respect in the entire metro area for a lot of people that you probably don't even know, who look and go, that is one hell of a story. And to be in the fourth generation is just, it's amazing. And it's really awesome.
Well, I had a knock at my door one day. Young man, nice looking young man standing outside the door. Open the door and he goes, "Mr. Roy?" And I go, "Yes." He goes, "I'm so-and-so." And he says, "I used to work for you." He says, "I knew you lived here because I used to come here and do something at the house." He said, "I just wanted to see if you were still here." I said, "Yeah." He says, "Just wanted to tell you how big of an influence you had in my life."
Wow.
So, never knew the kid.
It's what it's all about.
What it's all about.
It really is what it's all about. And unfortunately, there's too many people who go through their life and never have the ability to impact people like that.
Well,
and they can't understand it. And when you're blessed enough to be put in a position and then you make the right choices with the man above, it comes back around.
That's the only thing I've been told. I can tell you. If you do the right thing, you'll get there. You know what's right, you know what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Follow your heart.
It's pretty awesome.
That's
Well,
pretty awesome.
I want to wrap this up by Anna asking you a pretty off-the-wall question.
Okay. Goodness.
This is my favorite question. If you could have dinner with one person, who would it be and why?
A person in history or a person that I know today?
Anyone.
Wow, that's just too big a question, and I should have thought about this for days.
Yeah, that's the point.
I had a couple of thoughts that pop in my mind, Unfortunately, the first one that popped in my mind was Emeril Lagasse.
That's a good one.
Because
maybe he can cook you the dinner.
I love to cook, and I love his style. But historical persons.
Well, let's just say it's Emeril. Where would you go to dinner?
I'd let him choose. Or I certainly wouldn't cook for him. Although I think I could. I wouldn't cook.
He would probably like it.
I wouldn't. I'd be too nervous. I'd boil the water till it evaporated or something. I don't know.
But let's say you were doing it. Do you think at any moment you might give him a bam?
Without a doubt,
you'll have to give him a bam.
No, a lot of good people in history that I would love to have shared time with. It's just a question that just caught me by surprise.
Well, I think Emeril's a great answer.
I think that's a good answer too. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I know you're retired, as you say. I put that in quotes because I know you're also busy and got a lot going on and grandkids. And we really appreciate you joining us, and maybe we'll have you back.
I hope it does good for you guys. I hope people get to see it and enjoy it.
It's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.